So The Mandalorian Season 2, we're taking a look at some behind-the-scenes stuff from Just for Light and Magic, and kind of fun to see because you get so much Stagecraft, Unreal Engine, real-time stuff on set. We're seeing a lot more of traditional visual effects, which is kind of a cool thing to see, and it's fun for everybody else to see as well. And special effects, miniatures, everything.
Yes, and I'm super excited that they didn't get rid of good old visual effects. I'm glad they have a little bit of the new and a little bit of the old, and they have one of the best studios working on it too.
Hey everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. We post twice to thrice a week, so check out asart.us, the audio and video links. Nick, so you sent this video. It's not long. It's not like the Stagecraft super long one that we had for season 1 of Mandalorian, but it did give us a glimpse at how they've been doing things. And whereas the making of on Disney Plus that they had for season 1 was all Stagecraft, virtual production type stuff. This
really
is a lot
pushing
more
it though. But think about it, like Disney's probably doing something for their shareholders or whatever, just to show that they're the best in town or around, and they're like at the height of technology. But guys, let us know, guys, if you guys watched the series, if you guys thought the visual effects was amazing for Mandalorian, if you like the idea of Stagecraft and using Unreal engines to have a real-time background behind you for the actors and for visual effects, and it kind of gets rid of a lot of the green screens and it keeps the reflections in and stuff. Let us know what you guys think of the quality of the visual effects of the Mandalorian. Me and John are big fans of the visual effects.
For sure.
But now we're gonna break down Industrial Light and Magic. It's more like a show reel, kind of like what and a lot of studios do this to show off what they did in the previous years. And I think they have one on Avengers to everything they work on. They kind of do like a reel, and it was really cool to see. Like, you still have to have 3D monsters, you still have to comp explosions, you still have to have green screens, you still have to have a real car driving around. Like, it was so cool to see all that. Like, it's like traditional visual effects, like the spaceships flying and everything.
And even going back further than that, I really like seeing the miniatures and the real physical ships that they use and stuff. It's like, all right, cool. Could they have ditched all that stuff? Yeah, they probably could have, but Jon Favreau is definitely a big fan of that. I think a lot of us out there are a big fan of that. And it just feels right when you look at the original movies and you see this as a continuation of it, at least for a lot of people. It makes it feel a lot more embedded into realism, things like that. And I remember when we saw the first episode of season 2, we had the crazy sandworm monster thing. And Nick and I were just like, that I don't think that would be real-time rendered. That looks way too detailed, way too many particle simulations. And of course, they did the compositing breakdowns. We're seeing all the layers being added in. That was a hardcore model with probably traditional render pipelines. It looked like a Maya, kind of wireframe and shading and stuff like that, and looked really amazing. But it's fun to see them not try and pass off everything as, hey, this is virtual production, this is Unreal. It's kind of fun to see that, the throwback to traditional stuff.
John, did you see there was even an article from the director or the creator, Jon Favreau, how he was demanding more creativity from Disney? He wants more creativity over Mandalorian and stuff like that, because like Lucasfilms kind of still has their claws on what they can and can't do and characters he can and can't use. And he's demanding, he wants more freedom with the project, which could be great with the visual effects and everything, because like when it comes with that comes more creativity, come new ideas, and comes new monsters to destroy and new spaceships to be flying around. And I mean, it's great and all to see the Millennium Falcon, but it's great to see new ships too. Like there's so many good ships that aren't even designed yet.
So that's interesting you say that, because I was just reading some articles and a blog post from a guy that was a longtime Lucasfilm employee and talking about how when they shifted over to Disney, they lost a lot of things as far as creativity and how it was handled.
So maybe it's Disney then and not Lucasfilms.
Well, but you're right though. When it was Lucasfilm, there was very specific things and time eras that could be touched by games and shows and things like that, and stuff they couldn't. And so having that bleed over a little bit maybe is possible. But if it's doing well for Disney, you would assume they would want to give those freedoms to the person who's making the money and doing well. It makes sense. And so it would be interesting, at least in his case, he has enough clout and power that he probably can get freedom to access that. Now, is he talking about versus season 1 he was wanting more, or
I think from now, like I think he wants more creativity moving forward.
Interesting.
With the projects and stuff.
Interesting.
Anyways, back to the visual effects. Like that obviously takes part of the visual effects too, because the director and the visuals and everything. But you know what's so interesting? So Disney Plus, we're just going to compare Disney Plus visual effects to Disney Plus visual effects. We're not going to talk about Justice League. I know there's so much stuff we can talk about, but we're going to talk about WandaVision, right? Because WandaVision is a new show, and so is The Mandalorian. Very heavy with the visual effects on both of them.
In both, yeah.
It's slightly different, but still very heavy. But I want to say Mandalorian looked a lot better than WandaVision. And that was more traditional visual effects.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it was with maybe the stylized or the rendering. And because Marvel takes place in like the real world, you kind of, I don't know what it was what made it just stand out. I don't know if it was the stagecraft that just added that extra level of, like you're on an actual location or something like that. But big difference, a big difference.
Well, I mean, WandaVision is definitely in the Marvel universe, which is known for very high quality production values. And all that in WandaVision was good. But WandaVision was kind of a lot of people say, yeah, this is like the odd stepchild, like side thing for Marvel. And so maybe they didn't feel like it needed as much of a budget. I don't think it did. It still came out perfectly, great and fine. Whereas Star Wars, I think when people think of Star Wars, that's maybe the first thing they think about is the effects, which is somewhat unfortunate because we've had some, wonderful storytelling within the Star Wars universe, especially in the first 3 movies. But I think that's the big thing that people think about. They think of lightsabers and explosions and ships and all that stuff. And so it's kind of, I guess, embedded into our expectations for Star Wars. And that's weird to say because Marvel's very much about that too. But at least as far as WandaVision is kind of a different thing. Star
Wars is like the Tomorrowland, where it's like always the future with the effects. Marvel's like, I don't know, Adventureland maybe, where it's just more about the fun and the characters and the heroes in the story. So what's Pixar? No, I'm just kidding.
If you don't live in California, you haven't been to Disneyland. Sorry, we completely lost all you guys. But
it's gonna be opening in May or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But anyways, John, the visual effects, Industrial Light and Magic, fantastic job. I can't say more praise about the rendering, the animation, the fluid effects, you name it, they knocked it out of the park. Like the monster of the sand shark. I know we talked about it so much. By the way, we did episode reviews just in case you guys didn't know. You guys can do we talked about visual effects, and we also did a Stagecraft video, and we also did a VFX reacting to it without looking at the behind the scenes stuff. So we kind of do all over kind of thing.
It's kind of funny when it comes to Industrial Light and Magic. You want to give them all the praise, but it's almost, I don't want to say assumed that it's going to be the top highest notch stuff. But I mean, Industrial Light and Magic been around since 1977, original Star Wars, and there's other huge companies now too, like Weta and things like Digital Domain, companies like that. But at the same time, Industrial Light and Magic's just been the staple of the visual effects and special effects world.
Yeah,
they've been the first long-term company really in existence that's continued. But yeah, I mean, they are in the biggest 3 visual effects, special effects companies in the world. And it definitely shows when they're given a budget like that to do that. Now, I don't know if Industrial Light and Magic did all the effects for WandaVision. Did they? Was that all Industrial Light and Magic?
They had to do some of it for sure. Cause I know
I'm sure they did some of it.
They did it for all the Marvel movies and stuff. So, Industrial Light and Magic probably works on anything Disney touches now. It's just like they have the best visual effects company.
It would definitely make sense. And it's very interesting because when Industrial Light and Magic was bought or acquired by Disney, they still do movie work, visual effects work for all the different studios out there. It's not just Disney. Yeah. And Disney is technically, by law, not allowed to see their books because, they can't, they know what the overall profit is of Disney or of Industrial Light and Magic, but they're not allowed to see, we're working on Avatar 5 for,
which Disney owns.
Oh, that's right. Bad example, modern day, but yeah, that's funny.
Because Disney owns Fox now, right? Well, I don't know if they own the new ones, but I know for sure they own the original Avatar. But anyways.
But, it is great that Industrial Light and Magic is still around.
Yeah,
Blue Sky
fantastic.
was shut down by Disney just very recently because they found what they had kind of as redundant. Yeah, we did a video on that. Disney already had Pixar, obviously different type of stuff, but they already had those type of studios. So I'm just glad that they've kept them around and are utilizing them, in depth.
Yes. Amazing job. Movie quality when it comes to the ships, when it was the monsters, when it was the guys jumping onto the car. That was so cool to just see, classic behind the scenes Lord of the Rings stuff, like you name it. That's like classic visual effects. You have floating blue screens and they're like jumping, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, do whatever you can to get the keys so you don't have to do roto. And it was so much fun to see that like traditional visual effects was still used. And it's kind of like reminds me of the Lord of the Rings, right? Like everyone gave praise to Andy Serkis for acting as Smeagol, right? They're like, oh, give him an award. But it's like, whoa, do you know how many animators had to go in and clean it up? And like technically the rendering and the expressions are exaggerated, and everything's like it's like a team effort. It's not just one person. And that's the same thing with this. Sure. Like Stagecraft was amazing and it's adding a lot, but you can't do everything with Stagecraft. You know what I mean? You still have to have traditional 3D animation and visual effects and stuff to help out.
Well, I would argue that the virtual production stuff is more of a help to the actors and actresses.
Oh, true. Very, very true.
And the director, as far as
you're right, because they probably still have to do roto with smoke and all that. Other stuff.
But every roto with smoke. But every roto with smoke.
You know what I'm talking about. That was very, very.
Yeah, but everything else, there's probably, like Nick said, they're probably taking a lot of shots that even have Stagecraft. They're probably refining them later on, because just because they do it in camera doesn't mean that's the final pixels they're going to use. And then beyond that, there's just a lot of stuff that if they don't have that virtual production stage booked, they can't use it. Yeah. Or when you need to go on location,
even though Disney owns it,
that with you. Yeah, exactly. But it's no, Disney doesn't own it. They rent it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I thought that I rent that.
John said it here. No, I'm kidding.
John got it wrong. Yeah, but I thought that from what I read that they don't own that. They just rent time on it. So I might be wrong, but it would make sense for them to buy it if they don't own it because they're using it a lot. But all right, you guys. So hopefully seeing that video, if you haven't seen it, we'll link it down below. Check out that video. See what we're talking about as far as the traditional special effects, visual effects, and of course, there's a little bit of Stagecraft mixed in as well for virtual production. Let us know what you thought. If you felt like season 2 is better than season 1, do you think certain episodes at the beginning part of season 2 had a bigger budget than later on? How do you think it stacked up versus WandaVision? And if you think that they're trying to match that quality for the Avengers stuff or the Marvel stuff, or if you think they're completely separate and not needed. So let us know below. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next AsArt.